Hi everybody, I'm Butch Stearns alongside is Steven Saber. We go to some very interesting statistics from search engine land and a blog, an article, and the latest statistics on how, when, and where people share content. Let's get right into this graphic as we talk about sales and marketing here on the Pulse on Business. It's an infographic focused on how, when, and where people share content. And Steven, some of the stats here are fascinating, and I'll start with the way they frame this is 5 years of sharing, and they go back to 2006 to today. And the first statistic, which really blows me away, is that in 2008 there were 200 million people sharing around the world using social media as it was evolving, as Twitter was evolving. That was 3 years ago. 3 years later, there are 6 times as many people sharing. 1.2 billion users sharing content. That's mind-boggling.
It changes the whole landscape. I mean, that's why this article is so important for this show, because it really has changed the landscape and the dynamic by which people have to go through a marketing exercise. Sharing now has become an intrinsic part of what you're encouraging people to do, and everything you do. If you go into the back office of CMOs, they talk about how do we build this content or this message in a way that it'll be shared.
Let's talk about when they're sharing. This is fascinating to me. The sweet spot. I mean, if you're in business, you always set your target market and you say, oh, my target market is a 35-year-old man who's a blah, 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 or whatever. When people are sharing, the sweet spot is 9:30 Eastern time, first of all. That's the peak hour on a Wednesday. And by the way, when you share that at 9:30 on Wednesday, the odds are that most users are going to click and share that content within 2 minutes. And by the way, 75% of them are going to share that within 1 day. What do these statistics tell you?
They tell you that
we're one of the things. Your head is spinning.
So many things it tells you. But what it tells you is, first of all, it tells you that the idea of building long-term marketing campaigns with messaging now has changed. The fact that people share within 2 minutes means, look at the opposite of that. If they don't see it within 2 minutes and don't share it, they're not going to share it at all. That's the scarier part of this message. 75% of them share within a day, which means that if they don't see it and share it within a day, they're not going to share it at all. So all of a sudden, your time to market, your time to push, it's changed because it's all been condensed and accelerated, and you need to be able to work within that.
And by the way, I would argue that those numbers say that there still is a place for traditional marketing and traditional advertising, because the argument using a billboard as an example is that billboard is going to be up there the whole time. People are going to get to see it again and again. In social media, it might be a quick hit, but also lends you to the point that, well, in social media, you need to hit from all different angles and use all different channels.
But listen to what you just said, because what you said is where the key, it's different. So yes, there's a place for it, but it's a different place. And one of the things that we need to realize as business leaders and as sales and marketing professionals is what we're doing offline and what we're doing in traditional venues is different than what we're doing in non-traditional, more digital and social venues. And these types of statistics, these types of numbers just really play to that.
All right, so we're talking about how, when, and where people share. This is from Search Engine Land, and this next one, top growth all time. And really, this just shows you two things. One, the trends. Facebook, Tumblr, Google+, LinkedIn, and Twitter are all up. AOL, Livestream, MySpace, Delicious, and Dig are all way down. Twitter, by far, is the place where people are sharing. It's 35,356% when it comes to growth and share percentage. Twitter is the place where people are sharing. They're finding it the easiest to do, and that's where you're going to get it.
And that's what it's become. So sharing has become the essence of Twitter. So Twitter was a conversation tool. Now it's really about sharing interesting information in really more of a broadcast medium. And so as you start to think about it, tweets, everyone thinks, oh, tweets are 140 characters. Well, not really. Not if you want them to be shared. If you want them to be shared, you need to think about them differently. So as you're building, the takeaway here, the interesting point for me is as you're building your marketing plan, as you're building your content calendar, we talk about that a lot, your messaging plan, your marketing strategy, think about it in terms of encouraging and pushing the sharing strategy. Think about it in terms of the channels being very different, because as you talked about, some are growing and some aren't. And think about it in terms of that lifespan, because we're talking about a 2-minute, 1-day lifespan. That's a lot different.